Heavily Invested, episode 2. We have a friend of, I would say, a strange circumstance.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, yeah. So our guest today is Jake, and Jake, we met while I was doing a 6-month kind of work internship. I don't know how you describe it. Volunteer ministry, however you want to describe it. I was in Japan for 6 months, working for an organization, and then you came with your church, right?
It wasn't actually my church.
Okay,
The girl who organized the trip started a church or was helping out with a church plant, but we grew up in the same church together.
okay, okay.
She knew
Yeah,
me. She knows I got some Japanese heritage, so oh,
sure.
and my parents are also, my dad's Japanese.
Okay,
So she was like, "Hey, I know you wanted to go. How about this?" Because we've done some mission trips together before.
cool, cool. Yeah, I remember. I knew there was something along those lines. I couldn't remember exactly who was and wasn't from the church because I knew there was a handful of people that were from the church. But
It's probably the strangest amalgamation of people from not the same place going on the same trip that I've ever been on.
yeah, yeah, I remember that causing some awkward tension. Um, but that's being human. Uh,
Amen to that.
yeah. So you were there for what was it, 2 weeks, right?
That's about
Yeah,
maybe like 12
and
days.
dude, it was huge for us. I know for a fact we like the projects we got done. They had been talking about since I got there. They were like, we need to do this. We really need to get this done. And I knew that if you guys hadn't come and helped, that would have been my job for the next series of months.
That would have been the
Um,
entirety of your trip.
yes, exactly, exactly. Because it was wild. I mean, the two main things I remember doing were we cleared off the side of that creek so that we could use that rock face for climbing.
Mhm.
And then we also put the carpet down, which was huge because that really needed to happen in like 1 week where we didn't have students because we use that indoor wall all the time.
Yeah, that
Um,
was that was most of my trip was
sure.
carpeting.
Yeah, yeah, which is
I
like
was as much as I was envious of you guys and the big burly work, I'm kind
sure.
of mad that I didn't see the before and after. It's like
Mm,
I'm glad I didn't spend 4 days in the rain on a
yeah,
mountain cutting down
yeah,
trees.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I thought we were doomed when it started raining. I was like, it's all over. And then Yamaken was just like, nah, we're still out here. And I'm like, okay.
It's like, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, right, right. I feel like that describes a lot of my Japan trip. It was like, I guess we're not doing this. And then Yamaken and Brad were like, nope, nothing's different. I'm like, cool, okay, sounds good. Like that's what's going on.
It's a
Uh,
good era of perseverance.
yes, for sure, for sure. But enough of how we've met. On to the content we're looking for. So here's my first question for you. As you have honorably decided to be one of my guests, I wonder, when did you get interested in gaming?
I don't know if I can recall a time prior to having video games in my life. I mean, not necessarily my life per se,
Sure.
but I mean, like thinking back, probably the earliest thing I can think of is my dad playing Punch Out on the NES.
Nice.
Like the point where if I ever tried to play this, I'd maybe get past the first guy and then get scared to progress because oh no, he's gonna beat me up, and I turn it off. Like
I
that young, that
love
Punch
it.
Out intimidated me. So I mean, I've always been around it. NES, 64, GameCube up through my life. But it was just kind
Yeah.
of that thing that you did. So it's
Yeah.
just always kind of been that hobby in my life.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. That's so cool. With that thread, do you remember I won't say the first game necessarily, but do you remember the first game that like really grabbed you? The first game that really made you feel like, or let's just say the first game that you really wanted to put your time in, like wanted to invest into it.
That's a good way to to phrase that question. Um, as I think I can state first game that I'd have to answer this question in phases because there's the like
Sure.
pre-understanding gaming phase
Yeah, I
and
get
then
it.
okay, I think I get what I'm doing here.
Right, right.
I like this game now.
Yeah,
And
I
so,
always use Pokemon as the example for that.
ooh,
For
dang, you brought up a whole nother.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't mean to cut you off. I just for me the example was always Pokemon because as a kid I was like, cool. It's clear. Fire beats grass. Because if I take a fire outside, I could burn my grass. Like that's very clear to me as a child. And
Right.
so like I understand that concept. But then when I'm a teenager, I'm like, oh, there's a storyline here. And then when I'm an adult, I'm like, oh, there's Eevees and Ivies. Like there's things that like I still don't even understand as a 25-year-old man. Like
Anything past Gen 3, I disavow in
right,
Pokemon. So
right, sure, sure, sure.
no,
So yeah,
I think for that first spark of gaming that like brought me back, I don't know, to some degree from like, wanting to get better or like I just can't beat it, so it's giving me some kind of ambition to go further, was I think it was called Kung Fu for the NES.
okay,
This little like side scroller going through the tatami mat dojo, and there's these guys and like
nice.
endless stream of baddies off the side, kind of like a beat 'em up.
Yeah, I love
There's
it.
always yeah, so that was just kind of the intro that I remember playing that game repeatedly. I sucked first off, but second off, because anytime I actually made progress, there was one boss. It might have been the first time I've ever encountered the second life bar on a boss.
Okay,
The first three floors you get through, you kick him until the green bar turns red completely, and then you win.
right.
Except for this guy, where it goes red and he just keeps coming at you, and
Oh
then you die.
no.
Like, oh
Right.
well. So that's probably the first time I've actually like stuck some effort into a game
Okay.
to figure out what the heck is going on. Not
Yeah.
really understanding. I think coming into that like middle of my life, okay, like there's more to this.
Right.
Just press the button and he does the thing, and oh no, there's a hole.
Yeah.
Might have been in the N64 era,
Okay.
maybe like Super Mario 64 or Ocarina of Time,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
because there was more to invest in.
Yeah.
I almost want to say, there's ever heard of the game Battle Tanks?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nintendo 64. I remember, I think this was like Christmas Day, sometime the
Okay.
week of Christmas. I remember I'd fractured my wrist
Okay.
and it was not happy. I think it might have even been Christmas Eve.
Dang.
That's a whole nother story.
Sure, sure, but sucks either
But
way.
so I
It's
remember sitting
terrible.
down and playing Battle Tanks that night. Ice pack on my wrist because I, fresh,
Right.
fresh fracture, and playing through the entire game, probably from 8 o'clock until
I love it.
maybe like 6 o'clock until like 10 o'clock. But just like you know, you lose. It's like, okay, how do I change my tactics to get around this thing that keeps happening?
Right.
Okay, beat that stage. Okay, next stage. But like that's the first thing I can think of in like invested time, a
Yeah.
decent return on what I put into it, and beating the game.
Yeah.
That's
Dude, I
probably
love
like
that.
11, 12.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I have a very similar recall into what I invested most of my time in. I think Ocarina of Time is similar for me. That's really the game that I vividly remember being stuck on Epona, and I could not
Mm,
figure out how to get her out of the ranch once you like beat the race, and he's like, haha, you're trapped inside the ranch, you'll never
right,
escape.
right.
I just remember for like an hour I could not figure it out, and I had to call a friend from church, and I was like, Austin, I know you've done this. Tell me what to do.
The good old days before you could just Google the answer.
Right. Yep. Yeah, you had to know
I think
somebody who done it.
I think I've got to do a caveat on some of these things too, because growing up, I'm the second of four children. My older brother and
Okay.
I shared the same game. I mean, we had one system, so
Sure.
it's kind of like you got the game, you play the game. So
Yeah.
I saw a lot. I saw a lot of what to do before I did it myself in a lot of games. And Ocarina of Time was one of those where like it came out and my best friends down the street were playing it, or like,
Hmm.
did you know if you do this, this happens? I'm like, I don't know. I don't have the game yet.
Yeah.
So and
Yeah.
watch my older brother play. So I often think to myself, if there's one game I could make myself forget so I could play it again with a fresh
Hmm.
perspective, Ocarina of Time is probably the forefront of that list.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge for sure. I remember I've had people ask me that question about anime before, like what anime would you forget so you could watch again from a fresh perspective. And that's so hard to choose for sure.
I
But
know.
that's a good segue though. I wanted to ask because I didn't know for sure if you had siblings, but it was one of my questions was how does having siblings who play games, how does that affect you as a gamer as a kid and then also now as a gamer as an adult?
Um, well, growing up as a kid with siblings, if you didn't have a multiplayer game that you could all play, there's definitely the frustration of making sure everyone takes exactly their time and no more, so
Right.
that you can play your game too. And we did this with computer games too.
Yeah.
But I think growing up, it wasn't just my siblings that played, but there were definitely numerous times that my parents would get involved, specifically with Mario Kart 64 and Mario Kart
I
Double
love
Dash.
that. I love
'Cause it's
that.
so easy to just sit down and spend an hour or two just having a good time, and no one cares who's losing or winning. Even though we're all super competitive, we all want to win. Like,
Sure.
even if you lose, it wasn't like I'm going to throw my controller and get frustrated because we're all just laughing at each other so hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, definitely having siblings that are involved. We still play video games. We just recently, over Christmas break, um, went down to Atlanta to visit my older brother, and
Mm.
there's a game for the Switch called Overcooked 2,
Okay.
which I actually just recently bought so I could play with my wife.
I love
It's
it.
one of those like frustrating co-op, get it right, do it quick, and don't mess up, and you're just yelling at each other and laughing and screaming
I
and making mistakes left and right. But it's
love
just
it.
that's what we do. We play Smash Brothers. We play dopey games that we can just scream
Right.
into the night and hope we're not waking up my brother's kids.
I
But even my
love
sister,
that.
who wasn't a huge gamer herself,
Okay.
always loved watching us. We're playing Legend of Zelda or something crazy, specifically Zelda games. She loved watching Zelda and Mario games.
Okay.
So she'll game a little bit too with her husband, but
Yeah.
she's always been like, wanting to watch. She enjoys the adventure even if she's not playing it.
That's so
That was
cool.
cool to see too, because I also knew a lot of girls growing up that are just like, video games. Who plays
Right.
those?
Right. Yeah, I think that that speaks a lot really to the culture to like there's so many people online right now who are huge because they play video games. Like that's their whole content is video game playing. You know, I mean I have a YouTube channel, but I don't expect to be famous for it. And so but it's clear that there is a group of people that enjoy watching the gameplay even if they're not playing themselves. And I remember I had this conversation with my dad once because, like, I love the picture I have in my head of like your family gaming. Because my mom, she's like, I would get dizzy if I played those things, and my dad is like, you know, the stereotypical like white American father who's like, let's go throw the football, son. Um,
Oh,
and
Dad.
yeah, right. I love them both to death. They're both amazing. But like they have never been into the gaming culture. And I remember talking to him one day and I was saying, Dad, you love watching the Eagles, right? And he's like, Yeah, I love it. Like, you know, the Philadelphia football team.
Right.
And I was like, But you're not playing football, right? And he's like, Well, you know, I mean, I could go outside and play right now if I wanted to, but I'm not. And I'm like, Yeah, but, you know, you're watching someone else play. It's like, that's the exact same feeling all these people have when they watch video games. They love to watch somebody else play the game because it's the game that's fun and enjoyable to experience.
It's that
And
common bond.
right, exactly, exactly. So I love that your sister was into watching even if she couldn't play. I think Ben, my younger brother, was the same way. He plays games for sure, but never got as much into gaming as me and my older brother.
Right.
But he loved watching for sure. And yeah, I have very similar experiences with females usually being like, "No, get those away from me." Um, and so that's so cool. That's cool that both your mom was into it too. Like that's huge too.
And she
Um,
wasn't awful. I'm not gonna lie.
hey,
She was
there you
not
go.
the worst teacher.
I love it. I love it. Uh,
No,
yeah,
it's interesting watching the streaming community. I guess I can't say streaming at large because there's difference between or different content creators
sure.
between just a video game streamer. But I think that someone can make a living off of playing video games kind of blows my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not sure it's for me. I would absolutely love it to be the case that my hobby
Yeah.
can be what I love to do and make a living for my family. I don't know if it sits right with me, but I'm
Mm.
also not sure if that's because of the way I grew up. Because video games were like a waste of time as a kid.
Right.
I could stay home and play video games,
Right.
and then have my parents frustrated that I didn't look for a job when I was in college at one point
Right.
because I was playing a game.
Right.
Um, but it's changed so much now that this can be the way. I mean, but even back then, there were still ways you could earn a living. I have friends that were beta testers that would earn money finding bugs.
Yeah.
But that was like you were a hardcore gamer. Like you spent a lot of time gaming, and
Mm-hmm.
you were specific about I'm in this and I have to make money.
Right.
Like
Right.
it was a different mindset. And now it's like I can just play and be myself or have like a personality.
Yeah.
People actually watch it and they enjoy someone else playing the game they love and playing it well or playing it really bad, depending on what kind
Yeah.
of streamer you
Yeah. Yeah.
are.
No, it's great. I had a question specifically about this too, and I'm just gonna segue right into it. I love streaming community for the same reasons. I think it's awesome that you can turn a hobby into this thing that you could financially, support yourself on. I
Mhm.
also have a fear though. I have a fear that I see, and there's almost an overflow of creators. I
Mhm.
I see so many people, like friends have asked me, the 20 subscribers I have, they've asked me if I plan to stream, and I don't think I will stream until I have people that I don't know watching my videos. Cuz right now I see so many people online who are streaming and they're like, I have 2 people watching my stream. And I'm like, I'm glad that you love that, but streaming requires someone to be there at the specific time you're streaming, right?
Right.
Whereas like if you
And
make a
enjoying that
video,
specific content.
yeah, right, exactly. So if I make a video, I can throw it up, and at any time of your day, you can watch that video. Um, and so I have a bit of a concern. I guess it's not really even a concern. It's just something I see. I see these people streaming, and I guess it's more the kids that I see. I see these like 15-year-olds streaming, and they have these aspirations to make a career out of it, and I want them to, but I also don't want them to feel like they'll never obtain their dream, because it's such a like it's almost like trying to become a movie star, like you could be this great actor or this great like person who spends all their time in high school doing plays and being a thespian, and then you'll still never make it to Hollywood.
Like trying to make that 1% of people that gets just enough
Right.
viewership to break the common mold of what now everybody is doing.
Right. Like if you had done this, I don't know, if you had tried like 6 years ago and you're one of those people you were talking about, like one of your friends who like knew it and was in it and that was it. Like nowadays, you'd probably get there because you started 6 years ago.
Right, right.
But I
I
don't
think
know. Yeah, you go. You go ahead.
I feel like it's it's a common theme in life. Like this kind of idea is always going to happen, and it's always going to be followed by people that weren't in it originally. I mean, you could think,
Yeah.
stock market, streaming, business industries. Like, sure, Apple is making billions of dollars now, and you could have bought their stock for $4.
Right.
And
Sure.
he was selling it out of his garage kind of thing.
Yeah.
So people are jumping on the train now, but the return on investment is so much lessened because you missed the train.
Right. Right.
And streaming now, content creation now is worlds different than it used to be. Like
Yeah.
PewDiePie and the people that started out on, original YouTube back
Right.
before there was advertising revenue were
Yeah.
doing it for the art. Like they
Yeah.
enjoyed creating and they made it. And then people enjoyed it. And then they got
Mm.
big. But
Mm.
there's several different facets that are now a part of this media content creation industry.
Right.
Because before it was like you had YouTube. I mean, you had maybe like Tumblr or 4chan, something dumb or weird that doesn't
Right.
really do a whole lot on the public side, or rather maybe the generally accepted public side.
Yeah.
There were those who made content and posted videos, and then there were people who streamed and got live audiences.
Right.
And
Right.
there's like Reddit and talking to your fans and people that want to see what you do. That's turned into this conglomeration of, if you're not on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, putting up your VODs on YouTube, streaming on Twitch, having your,
Right.
subreddit DNAs and all that stuff, you almost can't make it because you don't have your fingers in enough pies
Right.
to make it work. So
Right.
there's these 15-year-old kids that start streaming that, like, I mean, as a kid, making money as a video game player, like, was not an option. It was
Right.
not a career path.
No way.
To know that a child, a teenager, can make a substantial amount of money if they're good at producing media content now is
Right.
incredible.
Right.
Or are they too late now? Like, how
Right.
active you have to be? What's your footprint got to be like to
Right.
create the kind of following that'll quote unquote make it these
Yeah.
days?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it, like, for me, it comes down to three things. I think you're right on the money. It's, you either have to have wizard skill with producing and placing content. So you have to be on every single media site possible. You have to be, turn one video into 19 different things. Like,
Right.
freaking, you take the audio from your video and you're putting it into a audio to text translator, and you're freaking printing them out as papers and handing them out in school. Like, you gotta like,
Right.
you are doing everything. So that's number one. Number two, I think, is you have to, so you could go that way, or you could just be crazy good. I think people who are popular, like Shroud. Okay, Shroud is a streamer. He is just stupid good. Like, I cannot comprehend his ability to shoot heads in video games. So if you,
As someone who's not a FPS player,
Sure.
like those kind of Twitch things already blow my mind. But people
Right.
like Shroud, oh my
Right.
goodness.
Yeah, yeah. And then I think the third option you have is personality. I think if you can either create a persona, or you have some kind of goofy, crazy, distinct, doesn't even have to be crazy, just distinct personality, that can get you to the next level. But what I see is, I see the dream, I see the 15-year-old, but I don't see too much thought going into how to get to the dream. And so you have a kid who's mediocre at a game and isn't really doing anything in the stream. They're just like looking at the screen and tapping on the keyboard. And then I click on it and I'm like, why am I watching this? Like, there's nothing happening here. So
Yeah,
yeah,
there's always
yeah.
that side of a life that is not necessarily made public.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you can watch all these streamers, and it's like, oh, here's another video. I'll watch a video, but you
Mhm.
don't see the other 30 hours that week they spent editing the 5
Right.
videos that they shot, and the audio and the special effects and any kind
Yeah.
of weird thing, or even to the point that people have their own editors or a team of editors
Yeah.
and producers
Right.
actually put this content up. It's not enough anymore to just have an idea and make a video, but it's, how can I make this video entertaining enough and professional enough that it's
Right.
going to stand above the rest?
Right. Yeah, and I think that's where it all boils down for me. I think it all boils down to, it's not that I'm not the typical American white dad who's like, son, your dream isn't attainable. What I am
Now go
saying,
outside, all that dirt.
yeah, right. What I am saying though is the time investment worth the chance to become famous? Because I don't even know if I can reconcile. Like, I'm doing all of this because I'm in quarantine. Like, I don't know if I could reconcile in a 40-hour work week spending the time I'm spending editing videos. So if like, I do not ever want to tell someone to not reach for their dream or try to obtain the thing they desire most. But I think when it comes to this kind of content, you need to be 100% certain that it's what you want, or you need to be doing it for fun. Those are your two options. Because if you're gonna come at it half-hearted, the guy who's coming at it 100% of his effort is gonna beat you. And that's just how it's gonna be.
Yeah, I think that's a hard line to ride. I'm not entirely sure it's that black and white. I
Sure.
think, I mean, if you look at people like the investors in Shark Tank kind of thing,
Yeah.
talk about, are you willing to, stop working your other job and put all of your time and money into this? Like,
Yeah.
that's a big jump to take for a lot of people. I
Yeah.
don't
It's
think
true.
I don't think the break within media creation is that narrow, but
Sure.
I think you're right on that. That it's not just the 2 hours, 3 hours a day you put in at the end of your day that's going to make it.
Yeah.
But I also think there's a level of understanding what your goal is
Mm.
that
Mm-hmm.
and maybe is the crux of the matter. It's the hard part for people to get behind. It's not just,
Yeah.
oh, well, I can play RuneScape for 5 hours. Like
Right.
you can, but
Right.
I can do that too and have the same outcome myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you going to add to it? And I think that as important as the editing and the sound quality and the microphone that you have and your capture card and stuff is, if you don't have a base idea of the media you want to produce, it's not going to matter how well it's edited.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen people that intentionally edit to look really crappy, and it's
Yeah.
hilarious because they
Right.
know what they want to present.
Right.
So, you can spend. I think about my little brother and his friend who are doing this stream now. Phone Wallet Games, if anyone's watching.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Shout it out.
they have distinct, or becoming more distinct idea of what they're presenting,
Right.
but also they have a great personality. Like it doesn't matter what they're doing, if they're streaming Smash Brothers, if they're watching The Bachelor kind of thing.
Right.
Like
Sure.
they know how they want to present themselves,
Right.
and they wrote up like the idea. They have they have their basic graphic kind of thing. There's no like
Yeah.
fancy cuts or edits or a whole lot of like sound editing. Though my brother does do sound editing. That's what he studied in college, is
Sure.
audio engineering. Um, but it's nothing flashy. It's nothing crazy. And
Yeah.
they're not huge yet, but the crowd they're drawing in enjoys what they do.
Right. Right.
So it is that line of, can you invest
Yeah.
10 hours a week and
Yeah.
create the content you're trying to create? Or are you just playing a game and hoping someone's going to watch you and make you famous?
Right. Right. Yeah. I think to wrap up this point, I think you killed it. Like that. What you need to be aware of is who your audience is, and the audience is the people that want to watch what you've produced. So I think some of these content producers or these kids that want to produce content get lost because they make something, or they're trying to make something that will be seen by people, when it's kind of the opposite. Like you just need to make something that you want to / are proud of / enjoy doing, and the people that end up watching that will be the people that will watch the next thing that you produce, because they're like, oh, I liked this content that you care about and have produced. As opposed to if you always try to pander to an audience, you're going to keep missing the mark because the audience always changes.
You have the endurance to keep producing the same kind of content.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you can't do that, then you're probably not producing what you want to produce.
Right. Right. Exactly. And you'll burn out eventually anyway.
Right.
Yeah, that's huge. We're gonna switch here ideas.
All
So
right.
as I said when we started, we met in the country that I have grown to love deeply, and I find Japanese culture in general very, very interesting. What has always been surprising to me, though, about Japan is they house both Sony and Nintendo, being arguably two of the largest, two of the three, quote unquote, if you're looking at, PlayStation, the Switch,
Trinity
and
of gaming.
Xbox. The Trinity. It's crazy to me that one country out of the whole world houses these two like mega gaming companies. Do you think
Stop
there
that.
is a reason behind that?
Um, I don't know that I could pinpoint necessarily outside of Japan is an innovative country.
Sure.
Like it's not necessarily about how do we get to the next level, but it's how do we make this better?
Yeah.
How do we make something that people want, that make their lives easy, that's good,
Yeah.
not just there and convenient, but good. I
Yeah.
mean, the flip phone craze is still happening in Japan
Right.
because Japanese producers of telephones are making things that the Japanese people want and they're innovating on it so it stays relevant.
Right. Right.
So to that point, I mean, you have to go back to, the introduction of the computer kind of thing,
Sure.
like,
Sure.
Atari and before that, what it meant and how you got there.
Yeah. Yeah.
The it probably ties in a bit to the whole honor shame society that if you're going to do something, you need to do it well
Yeah. Right.
because your reputation rides on it. It's not just how much money can you make, or I mean, I guess
Mm.
initially growing up kind of thing. This is what you're taught by your parents is that excellence is the standard.
Sure.
Anything less than that, you're not trying hard enough.
Sure. Yeah.
So if you put that mindset into the creation of technology or cars or convenience or business or whatever,
Yeah.
you get a whole nation pushing forward to strive for excellence. You're gonna get some pretty crazy things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you get that spark of creation, something like a Bill Gates or a Hayao Miyazaki
Yeah.
that put something out there with all their heart and soul, and it sticks.
Yeah.
And then you get to the innovation part. If you can stick and be relevant,
Yeah.
then you can turn it into something. And I think that's what they did. Like that's Mario in a
Yeah.
nutshell.
Right. Right. Yeah, I always like me and my friends will rip on the Wii U constantly cuz the console, the console it seemed like it was a mess. And like no third-party gamers or companies wanted to produce games for it cuz how are you going to no one wants to code for a second screen. Like they just nobody wanted to do that.
Right. I almost feel like that was Nintendo's first big attempt at trying to make money over innovating.
Right, right. And as much as I rip on the Wii U, I don't necessarily mind the move because I think Nintendo learned a lot about both its fans and the gaming community
Oh, no
with the
doubt, no
Wii
doubt.
U. And it's almost kind of cool because you can really see. I talked about this with a couple friends pretty recently, but you can really see from the Wii to the Switch, like almost this actual mechanical evolution into what the Switch became. And it's like the Wii, they're like, all right, let's try motion controls. Okay, that fad is gone. Let's try this thing where we have multiple screens. And I think this is my opinion, and I maybe Nintendo was going to go there, but it's never happened. I think they missed a huge opportunity with backwards compatibility
Mm,
because the Wii U could have been an at-home DS. Like you
right,
could have just
right.
put a slot in the Wii U for a DS cartridge, and then TV and gamepad. There's your two screens. Like for years, I was confused as to why this never happened. Um, and then the Switch came out, and I was like, okay, their goal wasn't the two screens. Their goal was to move to portability.
Right. It,
Um,
it wasn't the two screens. It was how do I take everything and
yeah,
put it on a movable screen. So they did the
right,
movable screen, and then it's
right.
like, okay, well, failed attempt, but the direction changed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I for a long time really like the name of the Switch like hits me somewhere deep in my soul because I really
Ooh,
feel
that just
like
registered
yeah,
on a deep level.
yeah. They really they took not only as a company did they kind of switch when the Switch came out, but I think they're also they're moving from a strictly at home console to okay we have great success with portable consoles. We have I mean Game Boy has been great since we've made it. um so should we I'm making a bold claim and I'm not saying Nintendo is making this claim, but I feel as though they're moving out of the home console genre and they're trying to become strictly portable. How do you feel about that statement?
I mean, now considering the points that you just brought up. I mean, I don't know why I hadn't thought of that before, but the Nintendo Switch,
Yeah.
the idea of
Yeah.
moving from a hardwired idea alongside console to kind of like
Yeah.
put the two together, that this is kind of the culmination of everything Nintendo's been developing up to this point.
Right.
As you go from, console evolution and handheld evolution, which both kept getting better and better
Right.
and innovating and changing, and this is like, now we've put everything together.
Yeah.
Now you're no longer tethered. You're no longer either tethered to a television or strictly handheld with lesser capabilities.
Right.
Now you have both
Yeah.
all in one,
Yeah.
and that's kind of twinkling my brain right now.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
dude.
they did such a good job that it's this platform that has so many applications now,
Right.
so neatly wrapped into one machine. I don't even know if I can call it a console anymore specifically.
Yeah.
They're they're making a definitive drawing a definitive line in the sand now for the other developers that, hey, this is what we can do. Can you
Yeah.
keep up? Are you able to innovate to the point that you stay relevant in this
Right.
new era that we're pushing forward?
Right. Right. Yeah, and it's crazy to me because you look at Sony and they put out the PS Vita. I don't know what was that, years ago,
Oh my
and
goodness.
they tried. They tried so hard for this push, but it was just such a flop. Like it just flopped so hard to get PlayStation 1 games portable, which seems crazy to me. I would love a portable PlayStation 1 game. Um, but I
And
think
PlayStation's portable lines have also gone through so many iterations in the
right,
past decade.
right,
I remember
exactly,
playing PSP, well, my roommate's PSP back my first year in college.
right,
Like, it was good.
yeah,
The fact that every time they made the next iteration, they set everybody back a whole system
yeah,
because I couldn't take my PSP cartridge and put it in my PS Vita.
right,
It didn't work that way.
right,
So as much as they wanted to join in that innovation, I think it's that fine line of, are we going to create or are we going to make money? Like,
right,
not that you
right,
can't have both, but
yeah,
there's overkill one way or the other, and I think they kind of went a little too hard on the making money aspect.
yeah,
I mean, and they still have faithful PlayStation followers to this day. So I mean, I'm not saying they did something wrong,
yeah,
but they've had several misstarts, in my own personal opinion,
sure,
misstarts
sure,
that kind of hurt their chances at jumping into this new market that Nintendo keeps seeming to plow right on through.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, right now at my desk, I'm looking at a Nintendo, a Super Nintendo, an N64, a GameCube, and then off to the side I have my Switch. And if you told me when I was a kid playing Paper Mario on N64 that I would have a console that the controller attached to the screen and then I could hold the screen in my hand, but then also like I'd be so confused. I'd be like, "What the freak are you talking about?"
So trying to explain helicopters to ancient Egyptians.
Right, exactly, exactly. But the Switch, I think, is the first console in a long time that I have both enjoyed because of the statement I think the company is making, but also because of the innovation the console itself makes. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm excited to see what is next for Nintendo going forward. I think we have a long Switch life ahead of us, but I'm excited to see what they do with this innovation.
Yeah, it's interesting as someone who's grown up in this technological boom
Yeah.
where it was playing outside all day to, I can sit on my computer for 12 hours a day if I have the perseverance to do so.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Play the same game every single hour.
Yeah.
Millions of people that I've never met.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to go into this transition, or like this continuing era of changing technologies, it's it's almost hard to cope.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think this kind of has been, I don't want to say it's a pivotal thing in my life, but I've noticed more lately the way my gaming preferences have changed.
Mm.
I don't know if it goes along with the way games have been made up to this point, or if the way gaming is now has changed my taste.
Yeah.
You could play Legend of Zelda, Super Mario for hours on end and keep having new content as you get to the next level or the next
Right.
dungeon. Oh, this thing has changed the level. Now it's what you knew, but it's different. So how are you going to cope now?
Right.
To massive integrated worlds like Dark Souls or MMORPGs like
Yeah.
World of Warcraft, which has expanded now for I don't know how many years
Yeah.
been going, but everything has exploded. The number of genres there are now in gaming is I probably can't even count it, whether I'm looking at a list or not.
Right.
Like so many ways gaming has changed, technology has changed that I don't know what or how next innovation is going to happen. And I guess that's the point of
Yeah.
innovation, that it's pushing boundaries beyond what anyone has conceived at this point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I'm in the same boat as you. I'm excited to see. I think this is the first time in a long time I'm as excited for what's next as I am for what I'm currently situated in.
mm, I
And
think
yeah.
still on the pickup of a lot of things, just mostly due to money. Just growing up as college student, paying my way through life kind of
Yeah.
thing, getting a minimum wage job and paying rent and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
so in coming to things later than everyone else has, it's it's interesting seeing the way things change after I've gotten to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so as cool as it is to see the switch and this generation and this innovation that's coming up next, it's like I don't want them to move on too quickly because now I'm
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
But it seems like they're just hitting their stride with the switch now, that it's like, all right, this is the perfect time to
Yeah.
be into this.
Yeah. No, I'm in the same exact boat as you. I can't pretend to be an original Switch owner. I have been raised since the age of birth to never pay full price for an item.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
uh, and so, I think I waited a full, it may have been 2 years. I may have waited 2 years before I bought a Switch because when it first came out, there was no games for it. It was like Mario
Yeah.
Kart, which was already on the Wii U, and like even Breath of the Wild was on the Wii U. And so I was there's nothing on this console that isn't already on what I have everywhere else. But this past year, I think, was huge. Having We had Luigi's Mansion 3, we had Animal Crossing, we had the new Pokemon. Um, there was just like game after game that has come out in the past months that I think really made the Switch a console to own as opposed to a console to let your friends have so you can play Smash.
Right.
Um, and so yeah, I agree with you. I'm usually, as much as I love gaming, I'm also usually a late bloomer when it comes to obtaining new things. Because I just hate, that's why I built my PC. Because as much as I think PlayStation and Xbox are great, I couldn't keep shelling out, $500 for a new console every 2 years, and
Right.
then
Right.
$60 for every game. Like the games on Steam go on sale pretty much every week. There's new games that you can get for like 60 to 80% off. I think I bought Fallout 4 like a year or two after it came out for like $10. You know, and
There's a
so
reason why PC is considered the master race.
yes, exactly, exactly. And if you don't like
But I
that, you
think
can leave a comment about it.
fight me.
Fight me.
Um, I think the Switch is doing some pretty interesting things to the point where there's games that are now both on Steam and the Nintendo Marketplace
Mm-hmm.
that I want to wait and get it on the Switch rather than PC.
I agree
So I
wholeheartedly.
think so they're doing something right. I don't know. I can't put my finger on what specifically it is,
Yeah,
but if you can make something that people would rather play on your system,
yeah,
like those, especially
yeah,
in today's market.
dude. Here's my 10 cents on that. I think there are so many indie games that I think are super cool. The one I always come back to is Moonlighter. I don't know if you've ever played Moonlighter,
I
but
I have I have some very
okay.
specific qualms with it currently, but we can
Okay,
get to that.
sure. But the concept of the game I love. I love the idea of having a shop, adventuring, and then selling the items you adventure to get. I like that basic concept. I love. The thing that I don't like about it is I don't want to sit at my desk and play it. I don't want
Mm,
to be in my room on my computer playing this game that essentially I could have played on the DS like 6 years ago, you know?
right.
Um, so the Switch offers something that nothing else does, which is let's take a game that really isn't taxing enough to need a computer for, and let's let you play it in the car while your mom is like, we're going to see Great Aunt Ethel, and we're going to be in the car for 8 hours, you know?
Right.
Um, so to me, and that's just my opinion about the Switch, is there's so many of these indie games that I would love to play, but now I can buy them for the Switch and I can play them wherever I want, as opposed to just sitting at my computer.
It does
Uh,
present an interesting opportunity for the budding developer,
mm,
that there's an approachable platform that I mean to be fair, and I don't know if it's just the way my Steam is set up, so it shows me all these kind of games,
sure.
but there's a lot of developers making games that could easily
Mm,
easily be ported to the Switch,
mm-hmm.
and I could
Mm-hmm.
take it with me wherever I go.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of those games I would enjoy that way. Like I was telling my older brother, I was so excited to hear that visual novels are being put on the Switch.
Really.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, it's fairly new. I think we were just talking about it a couple of days ago, but I love visual novels. I think they're so cool. I think they're so fun. Clan Ad is probably one of my favorite animes, which was originally a visual novel,
On my
and
list.
yeah, very good. But same concept. I don't want to sit at my computer and click through dialogue with my mouse and, like have this weird moment where I'm at my desk all day reading this dialogue as I click through. I'd much rather be on the couch with my Switch, just headphones in, plugging away. Like to me, that's a more enjoyable experience. It's kind of like having a Kindle, versus like reading a textbook on your computer. Like,
Yeah,
um,
there's definitely different. I almost want to say it's different levels of gaming. Like I have
yeah,
my casual gaming games, and
yeah,
I have like my super competitive gaming games.
mm-hmm,
And one of them, I can sit, lounging around on my couch and play easily. But
yeah,
it's like growing up playing, Super Smash Brothers Melee with my brother, or like a friend that doesn't know how to play kind of thing. There's a
yeah,
level of like, I'll take it easy, I'll sit back and I'll play. But as soon as my brother gets on and plugs in, I've got to sit forward.
yep,
Like
yep,
the distinct dichotomy of
yep,
I can't sit and lounge because my whole body has to be tense so I
yeah,
can twitch at the slightest moment, kind of thing.
yep. I know
So,
exactly what you mean. Yeah,
but on the Switch, I can do both. I
yeah,
can sit back and lounge, or I can sit forward and really
yeah,
engage my gaming brain.
dude, you can really switch it up.
Ba-dunks.
Brunch. No, I love it. I love it. So
But I
let's,
think,
yeah, go
well,
ahead.
I kind of want to talk about before we move on to anything else, that
Yeah.
there's a level of change that has happened with gaming development that I think I'm definitely less okay with.
Mm,
I don't know how. I mean, I guess I can't. I don't have a big enough voice to voice this to actual developers. But going from a system like the GameCube or the 64 to now, I'm a PC gamer mostly.
sure.
So to be able to enjoy a completed game is almost a luxury now.
Mm,
It's weird to
interesting.
say that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean
You,
though.
you grow up and you can play Ocarina of Time, and as a kid, I played it and blew my mind, and I was able to get through it and never encountered any like game breaking bugs or anything.
Sure.
But it was a completed game. That was the cartridge.
Yeah.
Nothing else was going to be added or changed to that. Nowadays, within the streaming community, there's a whole speed running section where people have taken this quote unquote completed game, no programming added, no bugs changed, no patches, interwoven into it, and they can beat it in 13 minutes because they can jump into the game memory through their interactions and change it.
Yeah.
They can walk into the door to the first boss and end up at the final boss. Like it blows my mind, and it's awesome. It added a level to the game, but you don't get that nowadays. Now
Mm.
you get beta access. Now
Yep.
you get update patches every so often, depending on the game you play. I'm an avid player of Dota 2 currently,
Okay.
and I I've had several patches in a single day even as they're updating things. Now, granted, some games are meant to continue to grow and evolve. But when you
Yeah.
have the latest, Battlefield or Call of Duty come out, and then, oh well, we're going to be down for a little bit because we have to update this patch because this guy figured out if you do this, then you can break the game. It's like,
Right.
okay, but I grew up with broken games, and I guess not that that's necessarily better or worse,
Right.
but a game to specifically bring up Moonlighter again. I love the concept of that game. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
To make something where you're not just the explorer
Right.
and take it into your quote unquote everyday life in the game, to me is like it's another level of immersion that makes the game more enjoyable.
Yeah.
But I ran into several issues with, I don't want to say dropped frames. I mean, like, dropped dozens of frames within boss fights and stuff that
Yeah.
made it hard to play. As much as I want to like that game, I have not gone back to it because it was so completely incomplete. And granted, in beta phase 2, so they're working on things, but it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's hard to find a game that you enjoy that's a complete game.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Which it's a huge game, but it's been eating me away for a long time as you notice the way games have changed.
Yeah.
That rather than give you a as full and as complete as they can give you with minor tweaks later, it's like, oh well, we said August 2nd, so here's August 2nd. Here's a game
Yep.
that's got 30% of its bugs.
Yep. Yep.
And I can kind of speak to actually I have it right here on my computer desk, but the new product from Ayami Kojima. Oh, that was the artist, Igarashi, the creator of Castlevania.
Yeah.
Had a Kickstarter years ago of his new game Bloodstained, which plays very much like a Castlevania game, but in his updates and after the Kickstarter had closed, I mean like years after the fact, as development hit some hitches, he pushed the date back. Rather than everyone freaking out that, oh no, we're not going to want your game anymore, so many of us encouraged him. And maybe it's because we played his games growing up. We understand the quality of what a real game, a finished game is.
Right.
Like, we were okay with, 6-8 month delay, even, I think that it was, because it meant that they could give us a more complete game we can enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. You present an interesting issue. I don't think I've thought a lot about many of the things you've said. One of the strings I want to pull on is, where is the line between bugs that make the game more enjoyable in a content level and bugs that make a game bad? So just an example for people listening, Moonlighter, frame rate dropping to make a boss fight almost implayable,
Yeah.
like that is obviously a not enjoyable experience. But then you look at Ocarina of Time, where through a series of events that I would never have found as a kid, but someone in some country somewhere found out you could do this. You can drop bombs and backflip and do a certain series of things in which you can travel backwards at a speed that is unseen in the game. And there's a series of glitches just like that where you can do crazy things that can affect your gameplay. But Nintendo as a company, when they remade Ocarina of Time for the 3DS, they made a public announcement saying, hey, these bugs are part of the game that we made, so we're not going to take them out. So the glitches, like the backwards traveling glitch, and there's a couple other ones that they left into the game because it made the game what it was. So where is that line between what makes a bug frustrating and bad for a game playing experience and what makes it part of that game's culture?
Right. And I think it does kind of stem back to that line of are you making this game for the community or are you making this game to make money? There's definitely some great examples, or I guess poor examples on the other side. I know this whole fiasco with Fallout 76, and not to point fingers or name names or
Sure,
specifically harp on company because I greatly enjoy Bethesda's work.
Yes, I do as well.
But there was an issue with it was almost just disrespect to your audience, to your gamers, what they did in Fallout 76. The
Mm,
incomplete game they gave them, the rewards that were far below the quality that they promised. Like, what are you trying to do here?
mm,
Nintendo will own up to these glitches and enjoy the fact that people are using them to continue to get, I mean, not revenue on their games, but Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time is still relevant. Yes, they made a remaster, but even then, before
yeah,
the remaster, the game was still relevant because of the bugs that were found. So rather than
yeah,
fixing it and changing the whole nature of the game, they embraced it and went with what the audience was telling them. Hey, this is a new avenue that we have. We like
right,
it.
right, yeah, yeah. So I guess maybe you really need to be tuned into your audience as a company to determine where that line is, because I think the community at the time of Ocarina of Time, like we're talking pre, not necessarily pre-internet, but we're talking pre-Google, the way that it is now, and there it was much harder as a player to have your voice heard by the creators at the time.
Right.
But yet Nintendo understood that those parts of the game were something the audience appreciated. So maybe it's as a company you need to be more dialed into what your audience is looking at. It's very similar to what we were just talking about with YouTubers or with content
Right.
producers.
Right.
Like you need to be making your content and not just trying to say, okay, I'm making this content because I want my fans to like it, but keep making content because the people that like it are the people that like it. Um,
Right.
is it, did Fallout 76, since it's just the example we're using, I also agree. I think Bethesda's a great company and I enjoy almost all their games. Um, did Was there anything in that game that was clearly meant to be a trial or an example of a future game that would have led to something like the Switch? The Wii U failed, led to the Switch. Fallout 76 failed. What now, as a Bethesda fan, will it lead to? That's, for me, that's what I need to see. Like, what will come out of Fallout 76? Because I'm not waiting for that game to be fixed. Like, it could be fixed. It could be made into a great game. But what I'd rather see is the company say, okay, wow, like here is is a bomb. Okay, we made a bomb.
Right. How
How
do we
can we
recover?
make the next thing so much better because of it?
Right. And I think it may have just been a misstep. And like I said, there's so many,
Yeah,
so many, so
yeah,
many genres of games now that it's like, oh, how can we get into this thing? Oh,
right.
okay, well that kind of sucks. So maybe that's not our niche.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I was joking about it. I think even in the last episode, but it was back in I think 2017. There were so many companies that were like, we made the Dark Souls of strategy games. We made the Dark Souls. Like every company was like, we made the Dark Souls of. As a guy, I've played Dark Souls. I don't hate it. I actually enjoy it a lot. But like, I don't want every game I play to be Dark Souls.
right.
Like,
There's a time that I want to play Dark Souls and a time
right.
that I don't want to have the game slap me repeatedly across the face.
Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, I am an Animal Crossing Harvest Moon fan. I like freaking owning 97 cows and going to the barn to milk them. Like,
Right.
I don't need Harvest Moon, the Dark Souls game.
It's DLC coming soon.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
think I think part of the reason that Dark Souls made it so big, just to kind of tangent here for a second,
Mm,
is that it came during a time when holding the player's hand in a game was
yeah.
becoming the norm.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got every single game, whether it's first person shooter or adventure or RPG, has some kind of tutorial that has to walk you through every single button in their dialogue and in their menus and everything. And it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. I just spent 30 minutes not playing the actual game.
Right.
Then Dark Souls comes in, kicks down the door, and drops a golem on your head, and it's like, figure it out. It's like, oh, I died. Huh.
Yeah.
And I guess and maybe that more applies to gamers like you and me who just kind of had it growing up. We played from a very early time. games didn't always have a lot of instructions, or if they did, they were all in the manual. So you read up before you played, and then you played. And if you sucked, you just kind of figured it out and got better.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, let's tell you everything and make sure you're completely comfortable
Right.
before you move on to level one.
Right. Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Dark Souls is this refreshing burst of, I can't even say light, burst of darkness through your
Yeah.
front door. Like, hey,
Right.
respect you enough to let you figure it out and get your butt kicked every single boss that you fight.
Right.
And then when
Right.
you think you're good, we'll drop Ornstein and Smo on you. And then
Right.
you have to figure it all out again.
Yeah. No, I use, I'm a huge Pokemon fan. It's all over my room. I love it to death. But I
Mhm.
use Pokemon Sun and Moon all the time as the example. That game, the entire game is a tutorial. Like
Mm.
I kid you not, multiple times as I was playing, I would talk to my friends and I'd be like, "Hey, I'm in this town. Like when do I get to play?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, when do I get to like explore and like go back to old areas and like not have every road in front of me closed until I talk to this person in this building and get this item. Then worker man with helmet will leave the construction site,
Right.
Like I and looking back on other Pokemon games, like they're all similar in that sense. Like, you can't get through the bush until you get cut. Like that's Pokemon Red and Blue. But the way you produce a game is huge. And in a culture, I think you're right, of like constant hand holding. A game that decides to not hold your hand can be just as much of a breath of fresh air, as the opposite might be,
Right.
for sure.
I think a perfect example, and one that I can recall with great frustration in my yesteryears. There's a moment. There's a game called Breath of Fire. I'm sure you've heard of it. It
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
a small game. One of
yeah,
my favorite RPGs for the Super Nintendo.
I love that. That's
But
awesome.
there's a place. There's a place. I think it's maybe like 60% of the way through the game almost. Lose a character only to find her in her future form, but she has no memories.
Mm,
You have to collect these ingredients to make something for her, and one of them is an item called a white antler, and you
okay,
get it off of hunting a white deer, a white elk, whatever they were,
sure.
which is super super rare, and they're hard to catch because they're fast. But early on in the game, you find one of those, and if you don't know what it is, it doesn't matter to you because you can sell it for a ton of money, which is
Right.
great. But
I
it's a
love
moment
it.
of I don't even know how many, maybe even hours I spent hoping that a white deer would show up on my screen so I could hunt it, so I could finally get this potion to get past this thing. But it didn't funnel me into this
Right.
channel of, oh, well, you just go find this one guy. He can sell it to you. No,
Yeah.
go find it. We gave you one, but you were dumb when you sold it. Go
Right.
find another one.
Right.
Is that
Yeah.
example of, you know, it's still open, but do you have the endurance it takes to get
Yeah.
to the final?
Yeah, I love that. I also, a lot of people who play games don't like this, but I'm a fan of games that will put enemies that are like just too hard to beat, because I'm really stubborn. So like let's say you're supposed to stay in an area and like the next area over has like level 17 monsters and you're level 4. Like I'm so stubborn, I will fight the level 17 monsters until I beat one and I get like 7,000 experience points and I get
Right.
4 levels. So a good example of that is Octopath Traveler. I don't know if you played that game.
Haven't. I have not yet.
Okay. I It got a lot of crap online. I don't fully understand it. Yes, the audio dialogues are similar. Whatever you've read online, I think it's garbage. I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed it thoroughly and I would play it again. There are sections in like each map where you will push forward and all of a sudden it will tell you in the corner, it will be like level 37 area and you're like level 3 and you're like, "Oh frick, I should not be here." Um, and there were so many times where I was just trying to get out of these areas and monsters would spawn and I'd be like, well, that's a game over, boys. But I like that because it like it almost feels a little bit more like real-ish. Like if magical fantasy monster worlds were real, there would be an area where giant scary monsters are that you can't fight yet. But one day you can, and you'll get there soon. I don't know. I my personal opinion is I like that type of boxing in better as opposed to like invisible walls or
Right.
like even dialogue options.
You into, the whatever
Mm-hmm.
the area. And I kind of agree with you for the most part, but I'm stubborn in the other direction. And I think
Fair.
this is what keeps me from playing MMORPGs more heavily, is
Yeah.
that you tell me that that harpy over there that's level 30 is got the skull and crossbones, which means I
Mm.
do no damage to him because, oh, well, you just need a few more levels first. Don't tell me what to do. If
Yeah.
I want to take
Okay.
30 minutes doing, 20 damage headshots to a 20,000 HP monster, I want to be able to beat it whether it takes me forever or not. I don't
Right.
want an artificial ceiling of, oh, well, once you get to within 2 levels, then you can actually do damage. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I mean, that's one way to keep me out of the area. There's also one way to turn me off from the game.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Artificial feelings.
yeah. No, that's so true. And I wonder what the balance is there of like I think about let's throw it for a loop real quick. I think about an anime like Sword Art Online. Okay, super easy grab, but the
Mhm.
concept of a game of a world where virtual reality is so far advanced that we go in as conscious beings and we take control of our characters. I I would love a game like that for the concept of how would a developer make a game that there are monsters to be beaten and there are levels to those monsters, but also there's player ingenuity because
Mhm.
like I want a game where if I play my cards right, like The Witcher's a great example. You can
Right.
play that game where you can just go headlong into a griffin and you can probably kill it if you're high enough level. But if like you read the index and you find out what they're weak to and what bombs work against them, you can like prep for this battle and you can use your ingenuity to make this battle into like an easy win because you played the game essentially.
Right.
Um, so
And I
yeah,
think that's a huge, huge market for developers is
yeah,
figuring out. And I think this is one of the reasons why I really enjoyed Breath of the Wild, which took
mm,
me forever to get into because I was like, it's another Zelda game, whatever.
sure,
But it allowed the player to take just about any approach you wanted to a location or an obstacle or a
yeah,
boss.
yeah,
Like if you could do it, do it.
yeah,
And I think that's the hard line to walk, I think, for games like that. Because I could go kill that level 30 harpy, but if it takes me 10 levels past where I was,
yeah,
then my inclination is to skip content that maybe they designed for me to enjoy.
yeah, yeah,
How do you balance the working your way around
yep,
inevitable content or something that actually helps you understand the game better in order so that you can, as a player,
yeah,
explore the game the way you want to?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I
You're
think I
so
can,
right.
I can look at Skyrim, I think, as an interesting example of something well, particularly hard for me to play because my general avenue of playing a game is I want to be the sneak, the rogue, the
Sure.
thief. I don't want you to see that I'm there. I want to clear this whole cave without anyone noticing me.
Oh, sneaky
Because
Bowman.
right. And I love that, but I
Yeah.
felt I was handicapped in particularly in Skyrim just because the way the system was balanced just didn't work in my favor.
Right.
Which again I think speaks volume to the how on earth do you balance a game between the brawler and the spellcaster and the
Right.
thief and the,
Yeah.
how do you make it all work and still be the same game in the end that everybody can have their own experience.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so true. It's so hard to do it that way for sure. It's a challenger like as a player, it's a challenge I've never had to think of too at least too often because I
Right.
have the benefit of just consuming. Like I just consume your content as opposed to wonder how your content is produced.
Right.
I'm speaking very generically. I obviously do constantly wonder how content is produced. But to the average gamer, they're not sitting having these talks like we are, where we're in depth considering how things are made and how they come to be. Um,
Would you say they're not as heavily invested?
oh, I would say that, yeah. I love it. I love it. Hey, I have two questions that I for sure want you to answer. Um,
Okay.
Number one, I mentioned to you briefly, and we talked about this a little bit when we first started with families, but as a married man, how does that affect your gaming lifestyle? Slash, does your wife participate with you? Does she hate games? What's the scoop there?
Well, to preface everything I'm about to say, uh, every relationship is unique.
Sure, of course.
Uh, I can't weigh my experiences against yours or against my brothers or anyone
Sure.
else's. Don't take this as concrete, but
No.
in my experience, I and I guess I can go through a couple of relationships too. But in my current married state, I have a very gracious wife.
Mm,
Um, Understands what my hobbies are and doesn't mind so much if I spend a couple hours or even all day if it's like a Saturday or something, just kind of mindlessly plugging away at games that I enjoy playing.
yeah.
I've had previous relationships where it was almost a mortal sin for me to want to play a game or to keep playing a game that my girlfriend happened to call me in the middle of and I can't pause it.
Sure. Sure.
That was kind of hard to deal with.
Yeah.
But you kind of you find your fit with your wife or your girlfriend that
Mm,
works for you guys. I'm slowly wearing down my wife onto games.
I love it.
She enjoys some of the party games like Mario Party and stuff,
Sure.
and that's a little easy to get into, and not a lot of commitment to it. Um, but we've recently gotten into a couple of smaller indie like platform puzzler kind of games.
I love
One of
it.
them is called Death Squared,
Okay.
which is a multi-character puzzle game.
Cool.
You get your red block and your blue block, and if you hit the switch, it does this, but don't let that guy get hit by your laser beam because then he'll blow up. And
Dude, I
we've
love
had
it.
a lot of fun and a lot of frustration playing that together. But she's really enjoyed that, and enjoying it more so lately. We also started playing Overcooked 2, which I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Um, she's not the gamer type, so there
Sure.
is a lot of me taking control of the situation.
Yeah.
But she's getting there. She's getting there, and
Yeah.
I really enjoy that. Um, but also we are expecting our first child come
Really?
beginning of August, late July.
Congratulations. That's huge.
Thank you. It's huge. It's daunting. I can't quite wrap my
Yeah.
head around it. Every time I see her pregnant belly, it's like, holy crap, there's a
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that will inevitably change the structure of my gaming hobby.
Sure. Sure.
My older brother, he's a gamer. He's got two kids, and he manages to play when he can. But you
Yeah.
know, you got to make sure you put things in the proper order in your life,
Yeah. Yeah.
and don't don't put the fluff where you need to fit the rocks.
Yeah. Yeah. I know a wise woman, aka my madre. She would always say the appropriate things in their context and moderations. So
Mm.
the example she'd give, she's a nurse. She would say, like, yes, crack cocaine is not a good life decision, but the same thing that makes crack makes morphine. So when
Mm.
prescribed by a doctor and in appropriate context and moderation, it can be a good thing.
Right.
Um, so all things in moderation and appropriate context, and I think they have a place. So gaming has its place, I think, in a family lifestyle. I mean, you are a kid of a dad who plays games, so
Not so much anymore. It was in the early life of us as kids,
sure, sure,
but no, you're
uh,
right. Like I think, and even in my dad playing games and goofing off with us, like he's still the number one example to me of what a hardworking man is like.
sure,
We may be in different industries or whatever, but he
yeah,
would be on an 8, 9, 10 hour workday, and he'd come home, and the first thing he does is clean the dishes because it needs to get done, and
yeah,
he's still in work mode. So let's take care of responsibilities before I sit down and finally eat my dinner, kind of thing.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
seeing that throughout the years, understanding my place as a husband is to provide for my family.
mm,
If I can't put that first, then
yeah,
I'm doing it wrong.
yeah, yeah. No, that's huge for sure. Last question I got for you:
All right.
which game would you say has affected your life the most in your real life? So which virtual reality has affected your real reality the most?
There's so many avenues I can take that question.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's not an easy one, that's for sure.
it's not because it really makes you question the real bedrock of your life. Like what has made you understand life
Yeah.
in a more productive or tangible or personal way.
Yeah.
And I think, man, that's a there. There's so many different things that I think I could attribute in some way, shape, or form to something somewhere along the lines.
Yeah.
Um, but I think I'm actually going to boil this down to Tetris,
Okay. I'm excited.
specifically Mickey's Magical Tetris for the Nintendo
Wow.
64.
Okay.
And I say this because the countless hours that I put into that game, I think, helped me. And I've always been the logical, puzzly type of guy growing up,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the way my mind has desired to go in my life. Um, and the spatial acuity that I learned from Tetris and how quickly you have to think about putting this piece there and planning ahead
Mm.
is probably one of the biggest qualities I have relied on or used to this day, such as my logical understanding of how things work
Huh.
that I constantly draw upon. And I'm not specifically spatial acuity, like
Sure.
specifically Tetris,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
sure.
like that kind of genre game, like Tetris or like escape room kind of games where
Mm. Mm.
think logically. Okay, you see this, there's that symbol there. You know you saw that before. What was that? And how to put two and two together or tying
Mm.
these strings from seemingly opposite ends of the room to the point that they need to be to make sense together. And I think those kind of games, that kind of structure like Tetris has helped me to hone that logical sense into a fine point that I can kind of poke at life with.
Yeah. Dude, Jake, I love that. That's awesome. That is so huge. Yeah, that's I mean, that's why that question is I think will always be my last question because it really it hits to both the core of who you are as a person, but also to the
Mm.
core of who you are as a gamer. And I never would have thought Tetris would be the game, but I totally see it. I totally see it.
Honestly, thinking about it now, I didn't think Tetris was going to be the game either until I just now tried to boil it down in my
Yeah.
head. I
Yeah.
think, as a joke, I would say The Walking Dead season one, because I've always thought I could survive the zombie apocalypse, but I realized playing that game, first off, it's a fantastic game if you haven't played it,
Yeah.
one of those
Yeah.
telltale story-driven games,
Mhm.
that if the zombie apocalypse happened, I wouldn't die from zombies. I would die from the people absolutely losing their
Yep.
minds.
Yep. Yep. If
That
there's
was a big like red flag moment in my head that, oh, people are dangerous.
yeah. Yeah.
Wasn't quite a part of my whole life, but it made me
Yeah.
laugh when I thought about it.
No, for sure. If there's one thing I've learned from the COVID quarantine, it's that people will panic. They will panic. But Jake, thank you so much for your time. I loved having the chance to talk to you and just having you on the show and just discussing games and really talking about I think what makes both of us kind of who we are as men and um, as functioning people in the society that we live in.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to say about video games nowadays that as a kid and as growing up wasn't an option then. So
Yeah,
to have someone like you who would like to really dive into the details of gaming life, it's refreshing to be able to talk about this in an openness that's I want to say is now accepted because it wasn't like it was shut behind doors before, but like
sure.
this is this is reality for a lot of people.
Yeah,
That makes sense of it all is fantastic.
yeah, yeah. Dude, I love it. I love it so much. Thank you again for your time and being on the show.
Yeah,
And
thanks for having me. I
yeah,
appreciate being here. Maybe again someday.
yeah, dude, I hope to do multiple rounds. You know, the culture won't change too much, but the games always are. So there's always more to talk about.
Well, thanks for having me, Dan. I appreciate it. It's been awesome.
Yeah, of course. I will talk to you later, and hopefully we'll game soon.
You better.
All right. Hey there, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for watching the show. I hope you enjoyed today's episode with Jake. It was such a blast to have him. We had a really good conversation. I hope you're really enjoying the show, and if there's anything that you want me to talk about, let me know. Send questions in the comments, and we can add them to the next videos. So I hope you're enjoying it, and I'll keep posting more, and I'll be posting these as well as podcasts for Spotify and Google Podcasts and iTunes and anywhere else you might find podcasts. I hope you are enjoying this, and thanks for watching.